Why? Why? You already didn't have a clear road to WrestleMania, and now it's even more confusing because of the direction you've taken after this show. Elimination Chamber this year is definitely far from the lengths of last year's show that was regarded as the best show of last year, with this obviously Cena's heel turn and that. It's nowhere near as good as last year's. But the show itself started off with a decent enough video package about Chicago, with CM Punk obviously being Chicago hometown and everything. And yeah, the video package is always, as no surprise, no matter what, WWE video packages are solid. But speaking of the Chicago, the crowd tonight was not their best as a whole. They were pretty mid, as we come to expect. Chicago is one of the most loudest crowds you get in wrestling. But for this show, I don't know why. For this show, they were just not on that tip top shape. Like I said, mid at best. So, without wasting any time, let's just jump right into Elimination Chamber 2026. Kicking off the show itself was the women's Elimination Chamber match of Tiffany Stratton versus Kiana James versus Asuka versus Alexa Bliss versus Raquel Rodriguez versus Rhea Ripley. The winner of this would face the WWE Women's Champion at WrestleMania, that being Jade Cargill. With no sign of Bianca Belair returning this side of WrestleMania, it's time to find another opponent for the current champion, Jade. In case anyone forgot, she still is champion because she's pretty much done diddly dick since winning it back in November, which makes finding her a match at WrestleMania difficult when most of the lineup in this match have been having other feuds and storylines, as well as the fact that Asuka, Raquel, and Rhea are in this match to determine the number one contender for the championship on the opposing brand. So what's the point in the brand split then if you're just going to go, well, it don't matter, does it? Anyway, the match itself saw Tiffany and Kiana starting things off, but nothing really much happened beyond some back and forth, just time wasting. And then we got Asuka getting released next, but Kiana seemingly has Asuka's number, jumping her as she comes through the pod. This, though, doesn't stop Asuka, who does go on a hot run for a bit, taking out both Tiffany and Kiana, only for the next pod to suspiciously get opened very quickly as Alexa joins them way too quickly. Normally it's like a 2-minute, 5-minute period between the pods. This just felt instantly too quick, and yeah, it just had that vibe of, well, we got to get this match over and done with, so yeah, let's just get them out. As Alexa joined the match, like I said, but this still didn't have an effect on the match, as it just kept that steady pace, nothing really happening. And that brings on to my biggest issue with the match, as there's absolutely nothing happening for the first half of this match. It just feels like they're just twiddling their thumbs until the stars get released, which it does, as next to get released is Raquel, who, after being given a shot in the arm of adrenaline and getting revived in her feud against Stephanie Vaquer on Raw, not SmackDown, on Raw for the Women's World Championship. Yeah, the match itself kind of got that shot of adrenaline that it needed, and yeah, it just she brought a vibe to it as she just wipes out everyone and that. Now with the action spilling to the outside, we did get the first real big spot of the match of Alexa hitting a twisted bliss off the top of the pod, wiping everyone out. But obviously, you know what this means. She who has the big spot is clearly no longer for the match, as Alexa then looked to hit a twisted bliss on Kiana, only for her to get misted by Asuka and then rolled up and eliminated by Kiana. So yeah, Asuka and Kiana together basically eliminate Alexa. Shame, but it's obvious who's going to win this, as out comes the final entrant of release, as Rhea gets out and goes on a dominant run, wiping out everyone, but not to be outdone by Raquel, who gets the best moment in this match by far by hitting a running power slam on Kiana through the chamber pod plexiglass thing, wiping her out, which is a cool spot. Only then to one up that by hitting a Tahana bomb on Asuka on top of Kiana and stacking them and pinning them both at the same time, eliminating both Asuka and Kiana in one fatal swoop. And like I said, that's the best part of the match, easily. It was the only real, it was a bit of a shock because it was just like I said, twiddling thumbs, just going, yeah. And it was boom, oh my God. And it was, really good spot. So now leaving only 3 left, that being Rhea, Raquel, and Tiffany, they're able to keep the momentum of the previous spot going as they created as they brawl on the outside once again, leading to the big high spot of the match as Rhea's tied up in the chains of the cage itself, which shifts the focus to Raquel and Tiffany for a bit, who brawl into the corner in the ring, only for Rhea to get out of the chains, climb up to the top of the pod, and hit a senton onto Raquel, who was in the corner on top of Tiffany. And yeah, for an impressive looking spot, but it looked like Rhea really landed awkwardly, landing on Raquel's elbow. And yeah, she was probably selling it, but you could tell for how long she sold for it, I think she might have actually hurt herself. As quickly, camera moves away from Rhea onto Tiffany, who hits the prettiest moonsault onto Raquel, eliminating her. As this leads to the final 2 of Rhea and Tiffany, and after, like I said, clearly that spot did hurt Rhea, as she was still really showing the pain as we went into the final 2, and we got a bit of a back and forth leading to the finish, where Tiffany goes up for another moonsault, only to get pushed into the pod, and then a riptide for the win by Rhea Ripley, being your winner. And this is just clearly, like I said before, I believe in my rundown of the show, WWE deciding to pull the emergency ripcord on their parachute and having Rhea face Jade, which makes no sense to me personally, because Rhea has been in this great story with her tag team partner Io in the tag team division, which has been great, and Jade's done diddly dick, like I said before, with the title. So I'm really not bothered by this match. I thought it was fine. It's not the worst women's chamber match, but it's not a good one either. It was just passable. Like I said, for the longest time, it just felt like they were just trying to get to the end of the match as quickly as possible. That being said, though, Raquel Rodriguez was definitely the standout in the match for me. Afterwards, we got the Intercontinental Championship match of AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch. As much as I really wanted this match to be saved for WrestleMania, because it would be the perfect place to pay off this story that's been happening since AJ's return back in September. But no, we're getting it here. And with how things ended at the end of the match, yeah, we're getting a rematch at WrestleMania. And also the fact that doing it here, I can't deny it kind of makes sense, as AJ has been adopted by the Chicago crowd as one of their own, considering who she's married to. So I do get that, but I just really thought that a match like this, as big as the feud has become, should have been a payoff at WrestleMania. But there we go. Another thing to worth remembering before I get into the match itself: this is AJ's first singles match in 10 years, because clearly early in the match, without wasting any more time, and let's just get into the match itself, the match early on does feel very scrappy and is a clear indication that AJ is still got that bit of ring rust, as yes, she's had several matches since returning back in September, but they've been tag matches, multi-woman matches in the War Games case. So she's been like, she can blend in, and like she's got others to rely on. She's in this match with Becky, and yeah, Becky's great and can help her, but it takes two to dance, and it's clear that AJ took a while to find her own feet on her own. And but it doesn't take long for AJ to gain control, leading to Becky getting frustrated. And this kind of story of the match, AJ's in Becky's head, and yeah, I'm so in love with Becky's heel character of this paranoid, hypocritical heel that thinks everyone's against her, when in actuality it's her. She's her biggest enemy in here. But yeah, things settle down pretty quickly as Becky gains control yet again, leading to a yay boo spot where the crowd finally actually came alive somewhat for it, for a decent reaction to the spot. As like I said, pretty much no reaction for the women's chamber match. This was like the first time I felt that they really came alive a bit, realizing, oh yeah, we're actually watching a show. It's now then at this point where Becky also exposes the turnbuckle, which would lead to the finish later on as well. But also, because the referee in this match was Jessica, which, as we know, Becky's been having a feud with on TV, and this leads, obviously, with the exposed turnbuckle, leads to the ref's focus shifting to that, only for her to then get pushed into the exposed turnbuckle itself when Becky and AJ brawl into her, where a late reaction to a pin attempt by Becky leads to her punching the ref. And like I said, with everything that this Becky and Jessica Carr rivalry has become, I'm getting real Triple H L Hebner vibes of 2000, as a rivalry between a wrestler and a ref. We haven't seen that in such a long time, so that's a nice little, different thing to have. Instead of two wrestlers, just have, a referee and a wrestler just not be on the same page, and, have a little rivalry. It's fine. This turns out that Becky then, because of her getting into the ref's face. Because of that, this leads to AJ getting the Black Widow locked in, and Becky taps out, but without any referee uh, nearby, it doesn't count. But yet again, this is where the crowd woke up and started chanting "You tapped out" at Becky, which was great. And again, like, it's slowly, like I said, now and again you get a reaction from the crowd. This then, like I said, it all leads to the finish where Becky looks to have the upset win in hand after she hits a DDT on a chair, followed up by a manhandle slam, only for AJ to kick out of both. Now, desperate, Becky looks to use the previously exposed turnbuckle, but the ref puts a stop to that after everything that's happened previously, allowing AJ to quickly push Becky into the turnbuckle and then locking in the Black Widow for a second time. And this time, Becky does tap out, but the ref sees it. Your winner and brand new Intercontinental Champion is AJ Lee. Overall, I thought this match was fine. Like I said, scrappy start, and by the end was an alright finish, but I felt there could be more to what we got. But like I said, this really should have been WrestleMania. I get why it's in Chicago, but it just feels like they've pulled in a, oh, we need to fill out the card. We'll bring this forward from WrestleMania, even though it's a big match, just to kind of sell and fill out the card. But yeah, I felt like this would have been a bigger moment if it had happened at WrestleMania. Then we got a backstage segment between Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce in front of the box, discussing the up-and-coming reveal, which would be coming after the next match, only for R-Truth to enter, with a Papa John's box, and they all stare at the pizza inside. And honestly, what did this accomplish by, besides having, a Papa John's ad, really? And the fact that, look at less than a year ago what R-Truth had gone through, getting released, or his contract not being renewed, depending on who you believe, and that coming back, having that hot angle attacking John Cena, and look at where he is now after that awesome Raw segment where he cut his hair. He's back to being comedy goofball R-Truth. And yeah, just a Papa John's ad this was. Next came CM Punk versus Finn Balor for the World Championship. And which could determine the whole future of WrestleMania. But don't listen to WWE trying to gaslight the fact that Finn will screw up Punk versus Roman. Yes, the outcome of this match was never in doubt. This is nothing against the match, but it's had, well, with how WWE were trying to sell the match, saying that Finn Balor could muck up the main event of WrestleMania and it could be Finn versus Roman. This had very much 2016 Roadblock. Dean Ambrose, that wacky Dean Ambrose, is going to muck up the main event when he beats Triple H. Of course he's not going to beat Triple H. Of course Balor's not going to beat Punk here. And that. But, like I said, don't listen to them. But I will admit, and then this is nothing against Finn, because I've always loved Finn, but it does look like this match was kind of, they want to try and give him a push and resurge, like bring him back after being stuck in the Judgment Day drama for years, has taken a toll on the former Prince. So this match being a resurgence of Finn Balor was a good thing. There was no video package for this match at all. Instead, we got Finn's entrance, who did get a decent pop from the crowd, not full-on boos, but it was more of a mixed bag. Only for Punk to get the big hometown crowd entrance, inspired by Michael Jordan's entrances with the music, and the camera following him from backstage up to the ring. But the match started off and at with the story being Balor wanting to prove himself after, him losing the match in Dublin, I do believe, and on Raw, and basically Finn works over Punk's ribs, and then Punk trying to make the comeback. The pair really got a lackluster crowd reaction, which surprised me, as it's the hometown boy, it's Punk, it's Chicago, and I just like, this is what a crowd makes or breaks a show, and this crowd were, like I said, mid at best, and that reflected in the matches, because even if the match isn't great, but if the crowd reacts to it, it helps you get engaged in the match. But there was none of that, so it really took that time. And nothing against these two, I love these two. This match just kind of felt, just plodding along for a bit. Like I said, Balor's targeting the ribs, Punk makes a comeback, and then Balor works over. But like I said, not jumping quite further, it's not until like the third act of the match that things start picking up, when Balor accidentally busts Punk in the mouth, so Punk's now bleeding, which leads to a great spot where Finn, going back to his own roots, turns to look up the ramp to see if Judgment Day's coming down to help him and be his backup, forgetting he told him he wanted to do this all on his own, and said, no matter what, don't come out and help me. So that was great. This then leads to them brawling to the outside, where Balor hits a shotgun drop kick to Punk through the barricade, which leads to the finish of the match, where back in the ring, Punk reverses a coup de grace attempt seamlessly into a sharpshooter, which looked brilliant, leading to both men worn out, still battling back and forth, but Punk's able to just hit that last GTS to Finn to put him away to regain the World Championship ahead of his match against Roman at WrestleMania 42. After the match, both men shook hands in the sign of respect, and like I said, I feel like this is like the beginning of Finn Balor's resurgence, and hopefully finally the breakup of the Judgment Day, because I'm getting fed up of their bullshit and their drama. Yeah, probably the best match of the night, like I said, but lacked that luster in the beginning half. But the second half, like the latter half of the match, really picked up. Without wasting any time, we then immediately after the match went to the reveal of what's in the box. After weeks of build up of what could finally be revealed, who was inside, and after it had the date stamped for opening on Elimination Chamber, the setup itself for the unboxing was much like how WWE presented Bray Wyatt's return back in Extreme Rules 2022, with it covering the entranceway and it having like a tunnel. And sadly, though, I was wrong with my prediction of it being some sort of 2K26 tie-in, as we got both GMs, Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, opening the box straight away. No build-up. They just had two crowbars, opened it, and what was inside? It was Danhausen. As after a bunch of women in Danhausen cosplay came out dancing, the man himself appeared, making his way down to the ring, giving Michael Cole a jar of teeth before getting in the ring, posing, and in a puff of smoke, that's it. Which led to the crowd booing the segment. I don't believe they were booing Danhausen himself. I think they're just booing the fact that this segment, overall, the from the second that he set up the box opening with the GMs to Danhausen posing with the puff of smoke, it was less than 5 minutes. They really, after weeks of build up, and that's it, less than 5 minutes for him to come out of the box, walk down, give Michael Cole some teeth, and pose. That's it. No promo, nothing. Well, let's just hope the future is a bit brighter for Danhausen instead of, this weak debut on WWE's part. Not on him, on WWE's part. This then leads us to the main event of the evening, which is the men's Elimination Chamber match of Cody Rhodes versus Javon Evans versus Trick Williams versus Logan Paul versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton. Winner of this match will face the WWE Undisputed Champion at WrestleMania. The path for the WWE Championship to WrestleMania has been so confusing and not clear. Starting all the way back at the end of Survivor Series, when after losing the match, you had Roman, Punk, and Cody having a stare off. Punk and Roman seemed to be not best buds, but seemed to be mutual, which obviously now knowing the direction, and this is one of the reasons why I don't really like this show. It makes no sense, but they were teasing back then Cody versus Roman 3 for the championship, only for Drew to finally win the championship after months of losses to Cody, when he really should have won it back in Palooza. He wins it on the first episode of SmackDown, seemingly throwing a wrench into the Rumble with who won that, being Roman, and it was like, okay, we're not doing Roman Cody. Okay, it looked like we were heading to a straight rematch between Drew and Cody, or even a triple threat with Jacob Fatu that I really wanted. I thought that would be great. Then there was rumours of a 4-way or even a 6-way with other names being thrown in the mix as well, so, which made no sense if that was the plan. It just seemed like, oh, we've got to get everyone on the card for Mania. Oh, we'll do this. So finally, we are here, the last major stop, where we'll know the end goal for WrestleMania. Right? The match itself started off with Cody and Javon beginning, and Cody giving quite a bit of offense, to allowing Javon to get a lot of offense on him, more than expected, clearly in a way to get the young OG over with the main roster audience. Next to be released was Trick Williams, who took charge of the match for a bit, leading to a face-off between himself and Javon, rekindling that feud from NXT. Then we got Logan Paul released, which didn't go well for the for the Vision member, as he got ganged up by the other three, leading to Cody and Trick sending him crashing through the pod itself, taking himself out straight away. Now, it might come across that I'm just going through this really quickly, but that's because there is literally nothing to tell you between releases, and in between it is just time wasting. It's a bit of back and forth offense. That's it. Nothing interesting happens. As then we got the release of LA Knight, who went on a hot streak, leading to himself going after Logan again, continuing the ongoing feud between Knight and what's left of the Vision. This led to the first real big spot of the match, where Logan Javon and Knight all battled on top of the pod, only for Javon and Knight to throw Logan off onto Cody and Trick before Knight then lands a BFT on Javon on the pod as well. And this led to the last person getting released, which is Randy. Now that everyone's in the match with no eliminations yet, it's a great point, like I said, to give my thoughts on this match, this men's chamber match. This match is bland to fine. Like I said, it might come across that I'm just going through the match really quickly, but because there was nothing happening at all. The crowd was quiet, dead, until that big spot, the first spot of throwing Logan off the pod, and the fact that there was no eliminations to like wake anyone up. At least with the women's, you had before Rhea got into the match, Alexa got eliminated in a shock elimination, but nothing like that. So let's hope that the match picks up for the rest of the match. Unlike the first half, things do pick up quite quickly as we get our first elimination, which is Javon by Logan off of a frog splash to Trick. Really getting over those young talent by having them out first, being the first eliminated. Unfortunately, things for Knight aren't going his way either, as he goes for his elbow drop off the top of the turnbuckle onto Randy, but slips on the ropes in the process. Though he's able to recover and improvise and just hit an elbow drop onto Randy. That's basically the end of Knight's role in this match, as a low blow from Logan, followed up by, him getting rolled up by Logan and eliminated, which then also gets followed up but with Trick getting eliminated by off of a Cody hitting a crossroads on him, and us having Trick eliminated again by Logan. Why is Logan Paul eliminating half of this field in one go? I do not understand this. This accomplishes nothing for Logan, as we'll find out in a minute. He doesn't gain anything, and it only makes... Alright, I know there's LA Knight fans, but you've got two of the most over up-and-comers, young future stars in this match, and they're like out and that, like the first two out. And for Logan, this leads to all of this, heat on Logan eliminating the first three, leads to him getting eliminated himself by a masked man sneaking into the chamber after Trick gets removed by the returning Seth Rollins, who sneaks in, attacks Logan, reveals that it's him, and this leads to, Logan getting eliminated. But like I said, what does this accomplish? Because are we really going for Seth versus Logan again at Mania? But also Seth versus the Vision. The only two members left of the Vision are Logan and Austin Theory, the weaker two of the Vision. So I don't see what any of this accomplished. Obviously, it was a fun spot of seeing Seth come back, but yeah, it's just puzzling to me. So yeah, Cody is the one to eliminate Logan after Seth's attack, leaving only Cody and Randy as the final two in this match. Then we get our second run-in of the match straight away afterwards, which is Drew, who again sneaks his way into the chamber, targeting both men, only to get laid out by Cody and Randy. But Randy, being that Viper and that, hits a surprise RKO on Cody, eliminating him. And the winner of the chamber which means it will be Randy versus Drew at WrestleMania, or will it? As on the after show, Nick Aldis confronts Drew about what his actions were and announced that on SmackDown, the following SmackDown, it will be Drew versus Cody for the championship. So what was the point then in this entire match, giving Cody another title shot after him losing a chamber match to get a title shot? What is this? And that sums up my whole feelings for this match. It was a bland, fine match, which in the end accomplished absolutely nothing. We got a boring, like I said, bland beginning part to a very rushed second half for me, with Logan getting the most eliminations, doing nothing for it. Then we got back-to-back run-ins. Obviously, we got Seth's return, that's something, but then we immediately got Drew coming in, and then the match was over and done with straight away because Randy hit an RKO. And then afterwards, Cody just gets another title shot after losing. I really didn't like this chamber match, and even I know that I said the women's one was fine, and that had a weak first half. At least there was some decent bits in it. Conclusion. In conclusion, WWE Elimination Chamber 2026 is a poor show overall. I think this might be the worst show I've seen in a while from WWE. At least until from like WrestlePalooza, because even though every show since has been like mixed, there's been something on it. This show, yes, it has some good moments. Raquel's performance in the chamber and the final third of Punk and Balor was good, yes, but the rest of the show was either fine, made no sense, or just seemed like it was booked in a blind panic as we're getting closer to WrestleMania. Speaking of which, of the show, shouldn't I be excited for WrestleMania at this point? I mean, this is the last stop on the road to WrestleMania. We should have an idea of what WrestleMania is. Yet we don't. It's still confusing. Is it going to be Randy versus Drew, or is it going to be Randy versus Cody? We're getting Rhea versus Jade? Okay, fine. We're then getting most likely a rematch for the IC title. Okay. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the show. I really thought this was a poor show. But that's just, like I said, just my thoughts. Please leave what you thought about this show in the comments. And once again, thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye.